South Carolina lands another huge prospect from the portal, a former SEC, I wouldn't say star, but a very, very good player from Tennessee. Caleb Herring, edge rusher, come on down and welcome home. We also have some basketball stuff to get to. One uncomfortable conversation potentially about Lamont Paris and a big, big top 5 matchup for the Lady Gamecocks against number 4 Texas. Locked On Gamecock starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into the Locked On Gamecocks podcast. I'm the host, Chris Marler of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast, part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, now the number 1 ranked sports podcast network in America. And that is you to thank for that. And we are very, very, very grateful for that. We got a great show for you today. We got a new thing I'm going to bring up in the second segment that I have somehow glossed over and did not bring up soon enough. So I'm very excited to talk about that. Talking about an everydayer club. Just going to hint and tease about it now. We'll get to it in the second segment, but it's something you're definitely going to stick around for. A new exclusive content as well that we are unleashing. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I told you this last night, guys. It might have been a good day to do the Game Time app today. Top 5 matchup in Colonial Life, South Carolina versus Texas. It is currently on right now. As you can tell, my eyes are darting all over the place. I admittedly had a hard time trying to do this episode because what I wanted to do was actually have it be all basketball. Lo and behold, Darren Uscher and Shane Beamer refused to take a breath in the portal and got another big player. So I didn't want to have basketball and top 5 matchup be the last thing we talked about and record the other stuff first. What I wanted to do was have that be the opener. So anyway, what we're doing now, let me catch my breath already. We're going to start the show. We're going to talk about the latest addition from the portal, where the portal class stands right now, some new rules that are being voted on right now for college football that have a lot of people upset, me included. We'll talk about that and where Shane Beamer and company stand on the new rule, how it's going to affect us as well. Then we'll talk some basketball. We'll review. I don't know if they win yet because at the time recording this, there's 4 minutes, 59 seconds left, and they just threw the ball out of bounds for their 17th turnover of the night. But we'll talk about the Lady Gamecocks basketball team. We'll also talk about some uncomfortable conversations with Lamont Paris about men's basketball. Let's start with the good news, though. Caleb Herring, a former 4-star out of high school from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, former Blue Raider myself for one semester. Hated it there. Apparently, he did not want to stay in Murfreesboro either as he went to the University of Tennessee. Played there for 3 years, but a 6'5", 250-pound edge rusher from Tennessee. He ranks as the 247th overall player in the portal for On3 and the 23rd ranked edge rusher in very rare form. 247 Sports and On3 actually are in agreement on their ranking of this player. It's wild how different their rankings are for almost everything in the portal, but this is something they agree on. He's a 23rd ranked edge rusher on On3. I think he's 22nd on 247 Sports. So another big get. It's a kid, like I said, from Tennessee. He's been there for 3 years. He'll have 1 year of eligibility remaining unless he decides to sue the NCAA or whatever Trinidad Chambliss and Diego Pavia are doing nowadays. But he should have 1 year of eligibility left. The production that he's had, and really, like I said, he's been there for 3 years. He's played in 36 games over those 3 years. The 2025 season was by far his best. He had 14 tackles, 6 for loss, and 4 sacks. Right now, 247 actually bumped him up to the number 168 overall player. And why is that important? Because that ranks as the 3rd highest player in the portal for South Carolina. Excuse me. So you have Jacarius Peak, you have Quaysheed Scott from Kentucky, and then Caleb Herring. This is a guy that is not a project that you really need to work on. This is a guy that has been good at this level. And I just told you his stats, having 4 sacks in this past season for a pass rush that desperately needed it after losing James Pierce, the first-round draft pick of the year before. This is a really good get. I mean, there was conversations that were being had about who's going to be on the other side. I've seen a lot of way too early depth chart projections. Julian Walker, the true freshman that just got off a incredible week at the Army or Navy All-American game now. And he, maybe he is a freshman that can contribute right away. But either way, you have added a really, really good depth piece coming into this season. Now, like Herring is a guy that, like I said, most of his production came from this year. Didn't record a sack the year before, only had 8 tackles. He's played in a bunch of games, but not really anything that, like breaking out until this year. The 6 tackles for loss, very, very impressive. He ranked second on the team for Tennessee in sacks. Not a team that got a lot of sacks, but he was very productive in that right. And another thing about it too is this is a veteran player you're bringing in from a former or from another Power 4 school, another SEC school, and you have not only gotten a body, but you've gotten a high-ranking body. And if you don't believe me, if you think I'm just hyping it up, I'm telling you, well, he's only a top 250 player. It's not that great, blah, 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 blah. He was set to visit Texas after this visit. And our guy, Darren Uscher, love Darren to death. Great dude, works his ass off, just point blank, period. Few people, I feel like I text him right around Christmas. And then after here, I have to remind him, like, brother, take a nap. Like at some point, take a nap, because all this guy does is work and he continues to try to land people. But this was one of his master classes, I feel like, in making sure you could land somebody like Caleb Herring. Now, Caleb Herring, we all know the portal. I'm recording this Thursday night. The portal closes on Friday. That doesn't mean you have to be committed yet. It means you have to enter your name. And so you can still be taking visits and whatever else. They got Herring on campus, and this is now the 15th player that they have brought on. I'm sorry, the 25th player they brought on campus for a visit, and the 15th commit they have gotten. They've also still have 3 other players that are either currently scheduled to visit or on their visit right now. One of them being the Texas running back Christian Clark. So you have a pretty active next couple of days. But Herring, getting a 15th commit from 25 visitors, that's a 60% clip of landing people you brought onto campus, showed them your vision, and then they didn't leave Columbia for the most part. Nitro Tuggle went on a visit afterwards, but they were able to secure a deal. We talk about how big of a deal that is, guys. There's no better example of why that you need to make sure these kids aren't leaving campus without putting pen to paper when you can do it. Because you saw what happened this past week at Alabama. Hollywood Smothers, NC State running back, agrees to a $650,000 deal in the NIL package with Alabama, leaves 2 days later to go to Texas for an official visit, flips on his commitment out there. I'm sure he got paid more, but like this was something where he was set to go visit Texas next. And maybe Darren Uscher saw what happened at Alabama, or just had the common sense that the Alabama staff seemed to lack and say, hey, it's probably a good idea to make sure this kid doesn't go to Texas where it's the deepest pockets imaginable. And they're going to want to make a play and make sure, at the very least, another SEC player doesn't go to another SEC school. And also, by the way, Caleb Herring, really good get. So, like, being able to have that be a part of this staff, that is something. I mean, we're talking about less than a week ago. We saw it backfire to another big SEC school. South Carolina made sure that didn't happen. And on top of that, they were able to bring in one of the biggest names still left in the portal in Caleb Herring. I love this kid. I love the size and length, the 6'5", the wingspan is really big. He's a guy that they have compared to Randy Gregory out of high school. And that was his, what do you call it? The former, I think he's a second rounder with the Cowboys. I think he's a second rounder though, because of off the field stuff. Tall, rangy, athletic edge prospect, looks a lot. It reminds us of Randy Gregory when he was at Arizona Western College in the 2013 cycle. Like Gregory, Herring has considerable room to fill out once he gets in college in the strength program, but showed off their athleticism as pass rushers and in the making plays in pursuit as well. So, again, I think this is a great get. I love the fact, though, more than anything, you're not messing around. Like that's probably the best thing that you can say for this South Carolina staff right now is they're not playing around. Like, this is the time for games is over. We're not going to sit here and I think a lot of times South Carolina fans especially can agree with this. There's this mindset of, oh, well, I hope something good happens to us. This staff has grabbed the bull by the horns and said, like, we're not here to blank around anymore. Like, we need to win. We need to win now. We need to get players that can win, help us win. And if they don't want to do that, or they want to give us like, oh, well, maybe, we don't have time for it. Like Figure it out. Don't let them go to another school. Don't let them come off campus without committing. If they are truly talking to you about how they want to commit, put pen to paper and let's get this thing done. And that's what they did. And they've done it with a day before the portal ends. And here's another part of it too, guys, that I keep saying that I think is an overlooked part of this entire process. You're starting to see it like more and more. There was a great deal of players that entered the portal again today. It was over 70. You're talking about in the last 3 days, I believe you've had right around 250 players that entered the portal. And to put that in perspective, I mean, you had 2,700 that were in the portal at the start of the week from the FBS level. Now you're talking about having around like 3,100. So in the last couple of days, you've had between 250 and maybe a little bit more than 250. I mean, you're talking about just under 10%, maybe like 7% of the entire portal entering in the last couple of days. And I said this was going to happen because somebody's going to get desperate and want to pay. I don't know the NIL package that the ins and outs of that yet. I do know that if Texas is calling and they're trying to get you on campus, and we know how deep those pockets are, this is a big, big win for this staff at South Carolina. And again, Shane Beamer shoving another SEC school into a locker. And now he's done it with LSU by making sure that Dylan Stewart stays home. He's done it at the same position, making sure Caleb Herring stays at South Carolina and doesn't go to Texas and potentially decommit. And he also did it to Alabama with Jacarius Peak as well. So a tremendous job from this staff. Now, time to catch my breath. Whirlwind of information to start. South Carolina basketball is under the 3 minutes and 21 seconds left. We'll talk about that when we come back. Before we do, we're going to pay some bills. And you guys know what's up. I want to tell you about our friends at Game Time. And I wish I could have dropped this earlier today because I just feel like Game Time app it's fine during college football season. And we'll talk about how great it is during college football season. It's just even better. It's already great. It's even better during basketball season. So hopefully a few of you, if you went out to Colonial Life tonight to go see the top 5 matchup, maybe you use Game Time. That being said, the reason I love Game Time the most is not because the great prices. It's not because I can see the exact view from my seats before I ever step foot in the arena or stadium. It's because they give the advantage back to the fans. And it's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football, college basketball, and even sometimes college baseball tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Told you about this before. One of the things I love more than anything about Game Time is their customer service. In a day and age where the customer service industry is like just a dying thing and it's becoming worse and worse, especially in the ticket market or secondhand ticket market, it's become worse and worse over time. Game Time excels, and it's hands down the best of any other company out there in this arena and profession. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, that's LOCKEDCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. We'll be right back with more Locked On Gamecocks right after this. All right, we're back. Guys, I have some exciting news. And I feel bad because I should have brought this up to you guys earlier, but I didn't do a good job of it. We have something new that we are doing here at Locked On, and it's called the Everydayers Club, okay? Like I told you guys a bazillion times before, thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you for also making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. We know there's a ton of podcasts out there. We appreciate you making room for ours and also doing so first and foremost each and every day. But if you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayers Club. Now, listen, what it is a Discord. It is a way to communicate. It's a way to just talk ball and South Carolina athletics with other Gamecock fans and listeners of the show in a Discord. I'm dropping the link in the show notes so you can see it there. We'll have information. We'll have information that's like more side information, anything that breaks in real time, maybe right after a show, because that seems to be how it always goes, where I'll get done recording and 5 seconds later, oh, by the way, somebody committed or something big happened, blah, blah, blah. Happens just tale as old as time. So if you want to be up to breast on everything, I think that's a phrase, sounds weird. But if you want to do that, join the Everydayer Club. Like I said, I will go drop the link in the show notes, and it is fantastic. Just trust me, it'll be great. And we're going to get this thing going, especially now the portal's about to wind down all off season. And I would love to build this thing up so we can have just more conversations, talking ball, all that kind of stuff, especially going into next season as well. So make sure you check it out. Like I said, it is in the show notes in today's episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to us on any platform that you get your podcast from. Now, back to some other things that are non-show related, and it's probably time to have a conversation about basketball. We're gonna wait to see what happens in this women's basketball game, and we'll talk about that afterwards for sure. Been a really fun night of basketball for there. It's been a really good game. South Carolina was down double digits early. I think they were down by 7 at the end of the first quarter. But we finally saw our debut of our 6'7" French phenom. You know I'm going to screw this up, but Alicia Big T. I'll just call her Big T for now. They've been fantastic. Also, just a great game in general. Joyce Edwards, like we talk about how good of an offensive weapon Joyce Edwards is and how great she is offensively and averaging over 20 points. She's one of 3 players, I think, in the past however many years under Dawn Staley that's even averaged over 20. The other 2 were pretty good, by the way. Leah Boston being one of them. And I tell you what, she's up there with the greats in there. But like watching her going after loose balls, diving on the hardwood on defensively tonight, it was awesome. McKeer, same thing. She was ferocious on defense. Got a huge crowd pop for how she was defending the everything Texas front court. I guess she's a forward, Madison Booker, who she finally broke out of her slump against South Carolina. I think she had averaged in however many career games, like 32% from the field. She shot about, I think it was 9 of 21. So what is that? 3 out of 7. That's 42.9% from the field. Right off the top of the head, I did it. So she's had a good game. But anyway, I want to talk briefly before we get back into the women's basketball part. It's time to have a conversation, I think, about where the men's team is headed, because I felt like it's a better roster. I love they got Michi Johnson back. And like, I think we all knew this probably wasn't it probably wasn't a Final Four team. It probably wasn't a Sweet 16 team, but you did want to see some improvement. And I'm not even saying that they haven't seen that improvement, because it's better than it was, right? It's better than it was. But the bar was set so absurdly low from where it was before. It's still hard to be very excited about where we currently are. The conversation about Lamont Paris, I'm trying to bring up this damn tweet about where the program has been. This is it. It's from our buddies over at Inside Gamecocks. They do a great job. Make sure you guys obviously go check them out. I'm sure you do. But they brought up where this program has been over the last year or so. So in March of 2024, Carolina beat Arkansas in Nashville in the SEC tournament, 80-66. It snapped an SEC tournament losing streak and tied the school record for wins with a 26-6 record. Remember, that's the year they finished 3rd in the conference. It was his first year as a head coach, and it was like, oh my gosh, you've got one of the best coaches in the conference already. This is a great fit. Everything's going well. Since that moment, the program has a record of 6-30, so a 167 winning percentage against P6 competition, and is 3-21 versus the SEC. I think what's more upsetting than anything is it's not even the fact that you're losing these games. It's that you're losing these games by like 30. It is the 8th game where they have lost under Lamont Paris, where they have lost, I believe, just to an SEC team by 30 points or more. I mean, that's a blowout. And like the roster isn't, I know that they're not spending the same amount of NIL money on basketball that Arkansas is at all. And John Calipari is one of the greatest to ever do it. There's a reason why he's already in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's a great coach. And what he's going to build at Arkansas, I'm sure is going to rival what he did at Kentucky. But that being said, losing by 30 that many times in that short of a time span is unacceptable. And I like Lamont Paris. I really do. But one thing that keeps coming up in my mind is somebody brought this up last week, and they were like, I thought it was an overreaction. I thought it was a gross overreaction, if I'm being honest. And it was that he was giving a response after like the second game in SEC play. And somebody asked why they didn't go to press or zone or something more. I should have looked up the exact question, but it was like, why didn't they go to this or that more earlier on? Because it seemed to work. And his response was like, oh, we got a lot of basketball coaches in here. I'm paraphrasing, but like, and somebody said on Twitter, so you know it's real, but it was a at the time I was like, that feels like an overreaction. And the response was, usually when something like that is said from a coach, it's like the beginning of the end. The frustration has boiled over maybe behind the scenes. And when you start challenging the media for asking just normal questions, then it's like, what are we doing? Like what are we doing here? There were times last year when Beamer did it and got into some back and forth with some of the people, in the media room. And it was like, we brought it up on here. It was like, dude, that's a bit much. Like, that's a bit much. And here, obviously, it's not a situation where I think he is going to, I don't think he's going to be fired mid-season. I don't know. Maybe they turn it around. I don't know. I do know that right now things are not good with this basketball team and the basketball program. And the drop off that you have now had from last year, this year is just, it's so devastatingly bad in comparison to where you were. And that first season, you go 13-5. Let me make sure I have these numbers right. You went 13-5 in SEC play, and it wasn't like it was the SEC, that was last year where you had, 14 teams make the tournament. It was the first, that was still a 14-team league, but you went 13-5, and to follow that up with the following year, I believe they were 2-16. That's where I look at it. I'm like, what are we doing here? Because now you're off to a 1-3 start. You are in second to last place. Only you're tied with Oklahoma and Auburn, and LSU is the only team lower than you at 0-4. But it just felt like you were in a better spot than that. You were actually tied for second in 13-5. Tennessee was first at 14-4. But the following year, you finished dead last, going 2-16, and there were some exciting games. And maybe we should have thought they were going to take this massive step back because they didn't have, Colin Murray Boyles and all that kind of situation. But and some of the guys maybe you lost, but like there's some good players on this team that should be winning more than they're winning. And they have Auburn on Saturday. I told you this was also going to be a tough stretch. So maybe we're like that they really could have gotten out of a bit of a jam if they were able to win that game against Georgia. But they floundered down the stretch and lost. And that's a familiar scenario and script that we have seen play out all too many times in South Carolina. Maybe they turn it around, but it's not like, like that was a tough stretch. Everything's a tough stretch in the SEC. There's a reason why this conference is so deep and so talented. So we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to close out and talk a little bit about the South Carolina-Texas game. Some more good news, I think. I don't want to jinx it, but they're up 5 right now with about 23 seconds left. I'm going to grab some water. I'm going to drink it off camera, as one of you so kindly told me to do the other day. And then we'll be back to close out today's show. I appreciate you guys, and we'll be right back with more Locked On Gamecocks right after this. All right, we're back. Closing out today's show with a big win. Number 2 South Carolina takes down number 4 Texas. That's a big deal for a number of reasons, but also because, I think yesterday, I once again should have brought up the tweet, but it's late and the game just ended, so we're calling it a night. This is the 6th time these two have played each other. South Carolina has won 4 of those games. They've each been ranked in the top 5 each in all 6 of those games. God, their Texas's coach is a bit of a baby, and that's the nicest thing I can say right now because we have to keep this show PG for Locked On. And I love my job, so I don't want to lose it because I say how I really feel. But what I'll tell you is, there was somebody who does a great job covering the sport of women's basketball, and she even had her SEC rankings after Sunday because I remember there were LSU fans mad about it who just beat Texas. that they still had Texas at number 1. Now, Texas coming off back-to-back games against LSU and South Carolina, both on the road. Kind of a frustrating move, I guess, but it's like how many times do you have to, like, I mean, they've cut in a break with every bit of scheduling imaginable. And so you're going to have a hard time making me feel sorry for Texas ever. But this is the 4th time in 6 games over the past 2 seasons that South Carolina has beaten Texas as a top 5 matchup. And they're now 4-2 against them. I think what I'm most impressed by, I brought the Joyce Edwards thing earlier. She had a bad night. She was 3 of 11. Did not have a great shooting night, but she was fantastic defensively, had 8 rebounds, had a big, basically like closeout rebound to close out the game late in the 4th quarter here. Raven Johnson was great in the 4th, either scored or assisted on 12 of our 20 points in the 4th quarter. But like I said, Joyce Edwards, a person that's averaging like I think 20.3 or 20.8 points per game so far this season. She only had 14, and 8 of those came from the free throw line. She was 8 of 9. It speaks to exactly how good this team can be, because like we all know that they're a really good team, right? But when things aren't going your way, and you already have Chloe Kitts out for the entire season, I believe. I don't think she's going to really come back. She's on the court right now. But like you have one of your best players, preseason All-American, out for the year. You find ways to win. And last year it was like they kind of dabbled with playing so many players, right? Like they had I think Kim Mulkey made the comment they had 10 players that were all McDonald's All-Americans, whatever it was. Tonight they played 9 players. Alicia Tornabese had she made her debut, the 6'7" French phenom freshman. She only played 5 minutes. The only stats she racked up were 2 fouls. She looked a little bit timid, to be honest, in the paint, but like it's good to see her out there. Huge crowd ovation for her. Colonial Life was rocking. But back to what was most impressive was the starters for South Carolina. There's been times in the past where it's like you have, like, I mean, Aaliyah Boston, right? Asia Wilson, those are stars. Like those are the best players in the country, like stars. I'm not saying that's not what Joyce Edwards is. What I am saying is they're not only relying on her. All 5 starters had double digits in the game or more in that game. Didn't shoot great from 3, but only attempted 11. It was they were 4 of 11 from 3, way better than Texas, who was 1 of 9. So they shot 36%. I guess they did shoot pretty well from 3. McKeer was 0 for 3. The starters actually shot 50% from deep, including Tessa Johnson, who had 3 3-pointers made on her own. Rebounded. They got out rebounded. They were able to keep Madison Booker somewhat in check. I mean, she shot a ton. She ended up, I think, at 44%. She was 11 of 25 on the night. But 1 of 5 from 3. She had 24 points. She played the entire game at 40 minutes. I mean, which is just wild. But yeah, so they were out rebounded, but at the same time, kind of a sloppy game from both. You had 42 combined turnovers in the game. But South Carolina was down early, down by nearly double digits, or maybe it was double digits to start the game. Found a way to figure it out and come back and claw their way back in. I think that it was tied at halftime, and they went into the 4th quarter down by 1, ended up winning 68-65. Just honestly, one, it's awesome to see this kind of game as such a big marquee matchup in primetime on ESPN and all that kind of stuff. For one, that's always great. I think we're kind of used to that now at South Carolina, so it's just another thing. But a really, really big win over a good Texas team that it felt a lot like an Elite 8, Final 4 type of matchup because of how talented both sides were. They gave Texas some fits. Texas gave them some fits early on, especially when shots weren't falling early on for South Carolina. But they did what great teams do, and they found a way to win, and they will continue on. So that's like I said, it's a big win. You stay undefeated in the conference. You got about a month until you get to your big showdown against LSU in Baton Rouge. I'll be there for that. It should be a lot of fun. And so that is about it. I think going into the rest of the year, I guess you've already lost. Yeah. So we have 1 loss in the year in a very weird situation. You have Coppin State on Sunday, and then we go back into SEC play. Oklahoma and Vandy back-to-back. Vandy is your only other team that's currently ranked ahead of South Carolina in the standings at 5-0 as well. They have been very, very good. They're 18-0 in the season. Their men's and women's are killing it this year. So there is that. But it's a very, very big win, and it kind of gets them geared up because I'll throw out the Coppin State game. In SEC play, you've got two streaks that you have to, or two little runs you have to go on that will be very difficult. You're in the middle of one right now with Texas, then Oklahoma, and then Vandy, with Oklahoma being on the road. And then once the second week of February starts, you've got Tennessee, LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss back to back to back to back, with Alabama and LSU both being on the road. All four of those teams are ranked. Oh, by the way, then you get Missouri at home and then finish on the road at Kentucky, who is also ranked and a top 10 team. So you've got, as it stands right now, you close out with 5 of your last 6 games against ranked opponents. This was a very good test where this team is. They're clearly in a really, really good spot and better than we thought. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's episode. Tomorrow, we got another big episode. The portal closes. Going to talk a little bit about some of the guys that have put their name in the portal and still haven't found a home. Right now, it stands at 7 Gamecocks, and we'll look into some of the numbers across the SEC and just where that is when the portal closes tomorrow on January 16th. Make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast to get all the latest episodes. Make sure you look me up on social media at Vern_Funquist on Twitter. If you ever miss an episode, okay, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get the Locked On Gamecocks ad-free, right? You don't have to hear me stumble through ad reads or be long-winded when I talk about gambling stuff and prop bets that I still think you should probably listen to, but still. Plus members only Discord access and more. Head to the custom link that I dropped in the show notes right there for you, so you can sign up today. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 247 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. It's pretty awesome. It comes in every single episode. You can go check out every single possible. I mean, I think there's over nearly 70 shows for Locked On College episodes. It's fantastic. Everyone there does a great job. If you are on audio, make sure your second listen is to Locked On College Football as well with our buddy Spencer McLaughlin. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until tomorrow, go Cox.